Hi everybody, this is our next training session for Microsoft Excel, tutorial 9. We're going to be looking at pivot tables. Now just a quick note, this is once again more of an intermediate to advanced function of Microsoft Excel. So I'm just giving you the heads up that what we're doing right now is quite involved. So I'm going to try to go through nice and slowly to give you an understanding as to what we're doing. Pivot tables are used when you have got large chunks of information in Microsoft Excel and you're wanting to compare certain information against other bits of information within your spreadsheet. So it's an analytical tool, if anything. So that's the context of how this can be used. And as we go through the exercise, you can see how this is going to unfold. So to kick it off, first of all, what we need to do as per the exercise is to open up your shares portfolio spreadsheet, which is this one here that we designed earlier. And we need to highlight the cells from A1 to J9. So we want this information. We then go to Insert, and we want to insert a pivot table. And what we want to do is we want to insert this pivot table into our existing worksheet, and we want to insert it into cell A19, which is going to be here in our worksheet. And then we click on OK. So here's the fields that we can use in order to create our pivot table over here. Now, if at any time if your pivot table disappears, you can use this over here to make it reappear. So that's just so that you can take a note. Now, what we're going to do in the first exercise is we are going to start designing our pivot fields. Okay. So first things first, we're going to tick industry and profit and loss over here. And once we've done that, we are going to see that in our pivot table over here, the information relating to our industries, which are appearing here, and the profit and loss from our spreadsheet for each industry appears in our pivot table. So once again, if you're only wanting to analyze the profit and loss or the profitability of each industry against each other, you would therefore need to create a pivot table and select only those industries or fields to make it appear in our pivot table. So now that's 9.2.1. We're going to now do 9.2.2. And we're now going to drag and drop the industry field to the column field area. So we're going to therefore grab this industry field here, click on it, and drag it down and place it into our columns field over here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag and drop our company name into our row labels. So we're going to find a company name over here, which is here. I'm going to grab that and drag it and bring it over to our rows area over here. So as you can see, as we're creating this, our pivot table is being manipulated as follows. So as per our training exercise screenshot, we can see that our industry and company names are appearing, and the profit and loss information is also appearing. So in this report, we've added another field in our search criteria, making comparison of the profitability of each company versus the industry they've invested in. Now we'll again relocate a field record and add another drop field saying. So we're going to drag and drop the industry field into the report filter area. So our industry, which is over here, and we're going to drag and drop that into the filter, the report filter area. So I'm going to grab that and bring it over to here. And now I'm going to click the drop down box and here, and make sure that I've selected multiple items. Is ticked. This one here, and this select all except but finance. Only finance. And then I'm going to click on OK. So what I've essentially done here is I'm only concerned of companies that are in the finance industry and the profitability of those companies. So as you can see, the green total is appearing here. So that's just another example of how pivot tables can be manipulated to generate reports based on certain criteria. So it's got tick if your pivot table box is no longer displayed. Click on the pivot table report cell on your spreadsheet. Note, you will need to move the field record back to the toolbar and add new field records to your pivot table. So we'll practice this as well. So we're going to now drag and drop the industry back to the report labels area. So if I go to industry and just here, I'm going to bring that down to my rows label area, which is here. The column field will now look distorted as both industry and company names are in the one drop field. As you can see here, it's showing you that ANZ Bank is also within the finance industry. So it's just it's an additional bit of information that is showing in our pivot table, so that you'll know at any one time that these companies are within those industries. Now deselect the company name from here, okay, and that will remove the company names from our industry. In the pivot table field, this box, deselect all industries, drop down arrow, road label cell 19. So I'm going to go over here and here it is. I'm going to select all, click on OK. Okay, so that concludes 9.2.1. Now in 9.2.3, in this exercise, we'll be displaying the profit and loss of CommBank within the finance sector. You will start with the pivot table created and modified to reflect the profit and loss of Commonwealth Bank only, to display the profit and loss of companies only in the finance industry. That's what we're going to be practicing in 9.2.3. So to do this, we want to go to column labels filter. So go here. Okay. So finance only. And we'd want to, this goes back over here, we don't need this anymore. Industry goes over here, our columns. Company name goes into the rows. So grab this and bring it down to here. And sum of profit we leave over here. And your report should look like that. So now to make it look like that, this is only, okay, so we only want to have a look at Commonwealth Bank. So therefore I'm going to drop down here and select all and only look for Commonwealth Bank. Click on OK. So this now shows me that Commonwealth Bank's in the finance industry, and that's its profitability. So that's 9.2.3. Now we'll look at 9.2.4. In this exercise, we'll rearrange the pivot table to display the market price for Commonwealth Bank within the finance industry. Steps to display market price for Commonwealth Bank within the finance sector. We need to remove the profitability field from the values area. Right, so we need to remove this from here. Bring this back over to here. And what we need to do now is in the column section over here, just in a bit of a glitch at the moment, trying to make sense of the next step. So our Commonwealth Bank, drag and drop the industry. Okay, so we've got the sum of market price. Sum of market price. Price. I'm going to bring that down into my rows. Work. Okay. Okay, so bring our market price into our values. Okay. So the missing step here was that sum of market price, which is over here, we needed to add that to our values column over here. Okay. So that's 9.2.4. Now we'll look at 9.2.5. In this exercise, we'll practice displaying the shares purchased on a certain date, being the 1st of July 97, across all industries and the profit and loss generated. Now, the steps to display the shares purchased across all fields, all industries, and profit and loss. Okay. All right. So we need to first of all select the date acquired from a pivot table and drag and drop that into the columns field. So date acquired here, and bring that into the columns field, which is over here. Only display those companies or the company that you acquired shares from. Drag and drop here, and I want to analyze all industries. So select all. Okay. And I only want to have a look at a certain date. I want to change the dates, so this is the only date that I'm concerned about. Select only 1st of July 97. And I'm only concerned with that, which is correct. Now I've finalized that, but the amount that I have is slightly different than the amount provided here. Just looking at the reason behind that. Profit and loss. Okay, because the values over here, and down here. So what actually happened was in our values section, we had market value, whereas we want the profit and loss to be here. So once I dragged that and brought it back over to here, the profit and loss for IGA on this particular date was reflected. So that concludes pivot tables. It's a quick snapshot of how this can be used. By no means was it an in-depth exercise. It was more just to give you an idea as to pivot tables and how they could be possibly used as another method of analyzing data. Thank you for listening.